Every young person I talk to does want to work.
OK, so we're looking at reactions to Labour's proposals to get young people working. And here on Ian Dow's show is Lib Dem MP Layla Moran expressing her thoughts on this issue.
You know, this this weird political positioning that somehow young people don't want to work and that they're going to take away their benefits if they don't.
Well, to be fair, there are 1.2 18 to 24-year-olds not in education, employment or training. So there is some evidence that there are a substantial number of people who don't want to work.
Well, just because they're not working doesn't mean they don't want to. And actually, I think the very genuine question that we need to ask, and I didn't hear from the government that they've done this hard work, is why?
I could talk about why over many videos, but the short answer, in my opinion, is that things are basically shit. Prospects are shit, and there's a huge disparity between the adverts and social media influences that young people are bombarded with and the actual world that these young people live in, one where automation and AI is stealing any job worth doing. And added to this, young people can't get on the property ladder. So in a nutshell, why should they bother?
Why are they not in work? Now, there's a number of reasons that could be, but I would point out that this is the generation that went through and grew up at a really important moment in their childhood during the pandemic. There are big anxieties, mental health issues at a time of like 14 years where we saw public health grants decreased, community mental health services on their knees, people not being able to access the care that they needed. And some of those people are also young carers.
So what Layla highlights here is that the social safety net has been withdrawn. It's harder to get help now, but let's get to Dom Joly's reaction to Layla.
Well, I'm going to sound grumpy old man. I'm not supposed to be doing this, but I don't know.
It's
I read that.
my role.
Yeah, I know, but I was reading today that a lot of this is to do with lockdown, as you were saying, and that kids were. I mean, my kids grew up through lockdown, and I'm not saying I think they'll be a bit lazy occasionally, but they both went to uni. But I just can't see this lockdown and that whole thing being the problem, the reason why people can't work. I just find it very, very strange. I mean,
now, I would question Joly's belief because he and the people he's probably surrounded by didn't experience the lockdown in the same way as others. He's making the mistake of his experience becoming universal in his mind. Added to this, he probably lives in a very middle-class environment.
I think every generation had something that they grew up with that was, we grew up in a Cold War. We thought we were all going to be nuked. So what would be the point of going to work then? I just don't understand what that excuse is.
Well, it's things like, many young people might have had a job on the side as well as going to school or doing something that allowed them to make connections. And actually what I've seen is a lot of those young people who went through that period then had a period of years where they had to sort of make up their social connections that were just sort of happening and would have happened during the pandemic.
I disagree with that totally, because actually one of the things I think really happened during lockdown, which was the saving grace, was a lot of people made their connections on social media and online, which we would not have had when we were growing up. So I don't think that stopped that too much. It might have stopped their interpersonal skills, possibly, which is agreed, but I still don't think that. I don't think that's the reason.
No, it's not the whole reason, in my opinion, but it won't have helped. And for many, the lockdowns and the pandemic actually gave a reprieve from the consumer dog-eat-dog world that literally undermines the confidence and eats away at the mental health of the people that inhabit it. Click here for Carol Malone's thoughts on young people and work.